everyone, so today's video is going to be a sorority Q&A. I asked you guys on Instagram to ask me any college or sorority related questions, and I originally wanted to do like a two separate video, like a whole college Q&A and then a sorority Q&A with the questions you guys asked. But over 99% of the questions were all related to Greek life and sororities, so we're just gonna roll with that and just do a whole video only on sororities because that's what you guys wanted to see. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I had so many questions from you guys, but I obviously can't get to every single one, so I'm gonna try and get to as many as I can and just ask mostly the ones that were the most asked, just to make sure I can get as many questions answered as possible in this video. So yeah, bear with me. I hope I can get to your question, and let's just go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so the first question is do's and don'ts for Rush. Okay, so my first do would be to be open-minded. This will literally make your experience like 10 times better because the odds of that happening are so slim. So if you are open-minded and are open to every sorority, it will literally make your experience so much better because you're gonna actually try and connect with the different sororities and kind of make your own connection without being closed-minded and being like, I'm only gonna be in this house, because that will literally ruin your whole experience. So number one do is to be open-minded, and my don't is to talk badly about other sororities. This happens so often and it just needs to stop because it impacts everyone around you. Everyone else is going through recruitment as well, and you're talking about all these different sororities with other people who may like those houses, and if you're talking negative about it, that's just gonna mess up their experience. And this happens so much when I was going through recruitment, so really don't talk badly about sororities. And they tell you this all the time, like your RCs will constantly tell you, don't talk about sororities, like you're gonna get in trouble if they hear you talking about sororities, but people still do it. So just don't be that person who does it, and just focus on your own experience, because at the end of the day, that's all that's gonna matter. The next question is, what makes each rush day so long? So yeah, each day is so long, and the reason being is because there are about like 12 different sororities, and you have to meet each one. And also, not all your recruitment days are going to be so long, because one day after everyone kind of does their own thing, you might have 6 houses on one day and 3 houses on the other, and then some person might have 3 and 3 and it's just split. So it kind of just depends on your own schedule and which parties you've been invited to. So it just depends, because you might have to visit all those in one day and only have one the next day. It honestly just depends on what you end up getting. That's why it just takes so long, because you have to meet each house. It's just such a long process, and it's just, that's pretty much the main thing. The third question is, what are things you shouldn't talk about when visiting the sororities? So the main things is booze and boys. You guys should not bring up partying and bring up boys like at all. Like that is a huge no-no during recruitment. We do not want to hear you guys talk about all these guys that you know in this frat and how much you like to party. Like, do not talk about that like at all. That is a huge like And then what to wear during Rush, and I made a video last year that I'll link up here. It was all the outfits I wore during recruitment when I was rushing, and it has different outfit ideas, and I'm gonna make another one very soon for more outfit ideas for you guys this year, so look out for that, and I'll help give you guys some more outfit ideas. So yeah, that will be very soon. How much of a commitment is being in a sorority? Honestly, the commitment is not too much. It kind of just depends on how much you want to put in, honestly. So there's some girls who put everything into being in a sorority and they're there all the time, myself included. I'm there like every single day and go to like almost all the events and all this stuff, and there's girls who don't go to like anything at all. So it honestly just depends on the individual how much time they want to put into it, and the most time consuming it is in the beginning of the year when you're a new member, because they put on so many events for you guys to get to know each other. So during that time it does feel like a lot, because every week they have something new for you guys to do. None of it's like stuff that you don't want to do, like it is all fun stuff, but it could be a lot when you have so much homework that week and then a sorority event on top of that. But in general, like the time commitment is really not too much. You put in what you get out, honestly. So if you want to get a lot out of it, put a lot into it. That's my biggest recommendation for you guys, is to just be very involved in your sorority and just do as much as you can, so that way you can get the most out of it, especially because you're paying so much for it. You should put a lot of your time into it. How did you know which sorority was best for you? So when I was going through recruitment, I think I've talked about this in a couple other videos, but how I knew which one was best for me was just the one I felt the most comfortable in. I wanted to just make sure I felt like I was just having a conversation with one of my friends and could picture myself in that sorority and being at the house. And every time I was there, I felt so comfortable and felt like I could actually see myself there. I literally just felt like I was just hanging out and talking to my friends and they were getting to know me. So that's kind of how I chose my own sorority. Number one tip for recruiters. This is a great question because before I went through recruitment, I was so nervous, like being on the other side, like this past year, having to actually recruit girls. I was so nervous because the reason why the girls on the other side are way more nervous than PNMs, you guys, is because since we went through the process before, we know how crucial it is for the other person recruiting you to really determine your decision. Especially because I knew, like, oh, it could have been one little thing that this girl said in this house that made me not want to go there at all. And there could have been this one little thing that another girl said in this other house that made me totally want to go to that house. And we know, like, that it really affects you. So it's mostly the pressure on hoping we can convey how much we love our house to you guys. We just want to make sure you guys get the same experience that we got in our house because that's so important for us. And every person recruiting is just to make sure you guys are able to get the same experience that we got. And I think that's so important. And that's why it's crazy when we're going through it every single day and talking to so many different girls. And even though we're so tired, like they always remind us, like, you know, even though you guys are so tired and are exhausted and just want to go to bed, like remember that the next girl you're talking to, this is her first time ever being here. And you want to give her the same experience that you gave the very first person you talked to. So that's kind of like the main motivator for me, is that like they're right. Like I want to make sure she gets the same experience as I gave the first person and try not to show how exhausted I am to her, even though I am. I just want her to have the same experience. And yeah, so just like my number one tip is just to not treat it like an interview and make them feel as welcome as possible, because that's so important, because they're so nervous, PNMs are, and even though you're nervous too, they don't know that. So just make them feel as comfortable and welcome in your home as possible. Can you rush again if you don't get a bid the first time? Yes, you can. You can definitely rush again the next year. I believe we have spring recruitment. I've gotten a lot of questions about this, and I'm honestly not too knowledgeable about that, so I can't really speak about it, but you can rush either in the spring again or the next following year. What are good questions to ask the girl you are talking to? My go-to questions were always like, what made you choose your sorority? And when did you know that that sorority was for you? Those were like my main questions that I asked. And then like on philanthropy day, like I got more specific and was like, what event is your favorite? Like stuff like that. Like just try and get to know more about the sorority, because that's gonna benefit you so much. So if there's something that you actually want to know that they don't bring up, go ahead and ask it, because they should be able to answer that for you. And if you ask all the different sororities those questions and all the girls you're talking to, you can kind of compare and see which one you like the best. Next question is, are there a lot of girls who go through recruitment and don't get a bid? I honestly don't think so, because when I was going through recruitment, the people like on Panhellenic would tell us that it's so rare and very slim for you not to get a bid at all. Almost every girl will get a bid, but it's also not guaranteed. You are very high chance likely for everyone to receive a bid from either one sorority or not, but you're also not guaranteed it. So it's not like if you're gonna rush, oh, I'm gonna get a bid, because there is a chance that you may not, but almost everyone does receive a bid. So next is, I'm transferring, will that make a difference when rushing? No, that shouldn't at all. I actually know a lot of friends who did rush as a sophomore who transferred from other schools and are in my sorority. So yeah, it shouldn't make an issue at all. There are a lot of people who actually do that, who end up transferring from their schools after freshman year and then come to U of A and go through recruitment, and they don't have a problem with it. So it shouldn't be an issue at all. Next is, what are the benefits of being in a sorority? My biggest benefit was it being like my home away from home, because I was always a part of a team like all throughout growing up and in high school, middle school and stuff. So this kind of gave me that, and I felt like I had that support that I always had like growing up, and it didn't kind of end when I went to college. So I love having that home away from home and the connections and networking and just like honestly your friends, especially if you're like an introvert and shy like I am. Like that was like the best way to kind of introduce you to a lot of people who are like-minded as you and become friends with, because everyone's new and also looking for friends. So it's honestly like the best way, in my opinion, for that. Is living in the sorority house cheaper than dorms? Yes, it is actually, but you can't live in a sorority house your freshman year because obviously the girls the year previous are living there, and you can only live there after your freshman year. But it is cheaper. That's why so many people want to live in. It is like a way more cheaper option than living in apartments and dorms, because your dues are included with living in the sorority house. And I don't know if that's like how it is for everyone, but that's how it is for mine, and it's so much cheaper. Like, that's why so many people do it. Is it allowed / normal to go to a sorority date dash with a friend instead of a date? And yes, absolutely. I actually did this a lot. So I've done both. I've brought a date, and I've also brought my friends and my sister to different date dashes and formals, and still had so much fun both times. So yeah, you definitely don't have to bring a date if you don't want to. I brought like my friend from another sorority one time, my sister, my friends who were visiting, and I've also brought in a guy. And all times it was all fun. So a lot of people do it too. It's not like frowned upon. You could even go alone if you want. Like, it's still fun because all your friends are there. So honestly, yeah, I recommend it actually. It's because it's a lot less pressure. So yes, you could definitely bring your friends. Next is, does it take a while to make real friendships in a sorority? And I feel like this is more based on the individual person, because for me personally, it does take me more of a while to make deeper connections with friends, just because that's just how I am. Like, I like making deeper connections with people. So this kind of took me a longer time to find, rather than other people that I know who are super extroverted and can make friends really easily. They made like their best friends like right off the bat. And I know this with so many people, like literally met their ride or die like right away. And this took me a lot longer of a time. So I don't think that's more necessarily of a general sorority thing, but just like more of an individual thing of how you kind of connect with people and how long it takes for you to make friends. I had a lot of friends, but it took me a longer time to kind of build those deeper bonds with the people that I wanted to. If you're iffy about joining, should you still attend Rush Week? Absolutely, you guys. This is like my #1 thing. If you guys are on the fence of joining a sorority at all, I definitely recommend you guys go through the process and kind of see for yourself if it's something you like or not, because you'll never know unless you try it, and you don't want to have any regrets and think, oh, I wish I would have tried it, because this is only 4 years of your entire life where you're ever going to be able to get this opportunity. So I would just try it and then see for yourself if you want to do it or not, because even when you are in it, there is no commitment. Like, you could drop whenever you want. So you might as well just try it out and see if it's something you like, and kind of get to know it more before deciding whether you want to do it or not. Are sorority girls mean? No. Okay, so there's not a specific answer like, oh yes, sorority girls are mean. No, sorority girls aren't mean. Are girls mean? Yeah. This is why I wanted to talk about this, because I feel like anywhere you go, there's gonna be some mean girls. Anywhere. Like, I know people who are in sororities who are mean. People who are in sororities aren't mean. And people in sororities who are mean. People who aren't in sororities are the nicest people I've ever met. Just in general, some people are, some people aren't. Like, that's wherever you go. So I can't generalize it. Sorority girls are mean. Sorority girls aren't mean. It's like, some people are, some people aren't. Like, that's just how it is. Next is, how much do you spend on sorority events? So actually nothing. So that's a part of our dues. So any like formals and date dashes and stuff, that's all a part of our dues. And even like sisterhood events and things like that, that is all included and paid for, unless you want to buy additional like merch and stuff. But other than that, like if you want to go to an event, it's like completely free because you pay for in your dues. So monthly, like nothing. Is it expensive to be in a sorority at U of A? Yeah, honestly, compared to other schools, I mean, I think it's cheaper than the South probably, but in general, it is more expensive at U of A solely because of the housing and food and meal plan at our sororities. So that's mostly what you're paying for, is all of the meal expenses and like the house. Sorry, my camera died, but I think I was talking about the meal plan being the main chunk of what you're paying for. So at other schools, they don't have a meal plan and they don't even have a sorority house. That's why their dues are a lot cheaper. But at U of A, you are paying for the meal plan and the house. So that's why it's a lot more expensive than at other schools. And the next question is, how do you deal with the stereotyping that comes with being in a sorority? This is a good question because it is very annoying when people just obviously tend to box you in just because you're in a sorority. So there are a lot of stereotypes with being in a sorority, but I think what I just try to do my best is just be myself and be kind to everyone, because I think that's the main stereotype, is like that sorority girls are mean and snobby and blah 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 blah. And I just am kind to everyone I meet, and I've gotten told so many times that, oh, you're not what I would have expected. It's kind of like a backhanded compliment, because I'm like, I'm glad, but I'm also like, oh, I hate that you think that about me just because I'm in a sorority. So I just, I just try to be myself and just not kind of feed into that at all, especially because one person can literally determine what someone thinks about that entire sorority, which is crazy. Like, you can meet one person in XYZ sorority and then everyone's gonna be like, oh, they're all like this, when there's over 300 people in that sorority. But because you met one person who's that way, every single individual in that house is the exact same way. No, everyone thinks differently. Everyone is different. Like, not everyone is the exact same and a replica of the next, everyone's very different. So other people just need to be aware of that and know that's so unrealistic that every single person is that stereotype. Obviously not. Next is, have you experienced / witnessed a lot of drama in Greek life? So same, kind of going back to the same question about sorority girls being mean. I was on a cheer team with 20 girls and there was still drama, and there was still people who weren't friends with everyone, and that was with 20 girls. So could you imagine? Over 300 girls? Of course there's drama, but it's not drama with everyone and everyone ganging up on someone. It's not like that at all. I've never experienced drama. I would hate that if I had to experience it all the time, and I never had to. So in general, like, I would say like no, but of course there's probably drama within friend groups, So last question is there hazing during the initiation process? And absolutely not. I want to tell you guys, be the first one to tell you, because I remember before I was going through recruitment, I was still so nervous about this. I remember hearing girls on YouTube talk about it and then being like, there isn't, but you still aren't sure. You're like, are they lying? I'm still nervous. Like, what if there really is and they just can't talk about it? But I promise you guys, you have my word, there is absolutely no hazing. If there were ever hazing, like, that house would probably be dropped like right away. There is an absolutely no hazing policy. Like, I'm pretty sure across the United States, but U of A has a really strict no hazing policy. So no, there is not one little thing. I've never once felt pressure to do anything I didn't want to do, like, not even close. And there's never gonna be someone trying to push you to do anything that you don't want to do. And during initiation, it's more so for you to kind of see if that's something you want to continue doing, because you do have like a month to kind of figure out if that's like what you want to do before you actually get initiated into that sorority. So it's not like, oh, we're making you do all these things to see if you can prove yourself. Like, absolutely not at all. That's not how it works. So yeah, I know the movies, it's so stereotyped, like there's hazing, but there is not at all, and I would drop immediately if I ever experienced that. So yeah, that's the end of this video. I know it's a long one, but I wanted to get through as many questions as possible. So I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question. I couldn't get through every single one, or else we'd be here for like an hour. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye guys.